Today we have Ivy Gichohi. Hello, Ivy.
Hi, Lynn. How are you?
I'm good. What question do you have for me today?
Well, I would like to know how you could help me through this job search. Being a new graduate in the bakery science degree, I would love to know what are some advice you have in terms of job searching.
Well, let's first start with LinkedIn. I think you have to have a good profile on LinkedIn. These days, employers don't look anywhere else but your LinkedIn profile first. So do you have a good LinkedIn updated profile?
Yes, I do. I make sure I update it as often as possible.
That's great. And how about your networks? Are you working on getting to know people and liking companies on LinkedIn?
Yes, I make sure I follow the companies. I also make sure that I reach out, if I see something. I also follow some of the feed, just to be updated on what each company is doing and what are some changes they're going through.
Well, sounds like you're doing the right things on
Good, thank you.
the internet and digitally, right? So let's dig in a little bit more about yourself and figure it out from there if you don't mind. So can you tell our listeners, what is your story? What's your background?
Okay, my story started in Kenya. I was born and raised there. I moved to Kansas and I completed my 2 years of high school. I started college doing pharmacy, and then I changed majors. So I went into bakery science, and I recently just graduated with a bachelor's in bakery science.
That's interesting. So just to be clear, are you allowed to work legally in the U.S.?
I am, yes.
Awesome. And why did you choose bakery science as your major?
Growing up, my mom was a baker. She started out as a baker, and she worked with so many different companies. So I grew up in baking in my family. So I was very inspired. I was intrigued by it, and I wanted to learn more. So that was a very good kind of degree for me to at least learn more about the industry as well as just baking and the science of it.
Ivy, you sound very well versed to me. Can you tell me which bakery science course that you love the most?
I would say I loved the bakery science classes as well as the lab themselves. They were very hands-on. So I loved interacting with students. I loved learning more about, what happens when you add this ingredient with that, what happens in the oven. So I loved finding, the backstory of all these wonderful products we eat.
You mean you love standing 4 or 6 hours on your feet doing the
Surprisingly, yes, because the knowledge and the, just interacting, you even forget that you've been standing for that long.
So taking a few steps back, why did you go to K-State and how did you hear about this program?
I knew K-State had the bakery science and through the grain science department, and being that it was such a known institution, I wanted to, I'm already in Kansas and it's a wonderful school. I've heard so many great things about the department itself. So I just wanted to be a part of the bakery science, the people, learn from all these different professors and mentors who can, help me through this journey as an undergraduate.
Man, you did everything right there.
Thank you.
When you were doing your coursework, what did you think your dream job would look like?
My dream job was one that I can grow and I can make a difference for the company as well as inspire people to know that, there's nothing impossible. As you just need to try, and one that I can definitely be myself and, grow and use my skills, knowledge to improve all the problem solving strategies I have learned over the years. Really just do that for a company, and the company that can, at least take my input and, just make a difference in any way I can.
So let me ask you, are you willing to put in the long hours to be on the bakery floor?
I am, yes. I know all that can happen. I'm ready.
Let me tell you, we put in some long hours in there.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes no weekends off.
Oh yeah, you have to be dedicated and patient, you
Yeah,
know.
so what type of a job would you settle for in terms of, your first step, your first job? What are
Mhm.
you willing to do? Are you willing to be a mixer operator? Are you willing to, run shifts or do shifts? What?
I'm willing to do the shifts where if I'm a production supervisor, I know that I'm working with so many wonderful people that, if something happens, we can work together to solve. And you have close to 100 people that you are working close with, that you are a supervisor for them. So such a position will give me a chance to grow as an individual, as well as just impact other people and, just make everything go smoothly. And then within 5 years from now, my goals are to be in a managerial position. And then eventually I would love to be a consultant. So I know there is a road to where I would love to be, but right now I'm good with, supervisor. I'm also interested in quality, research and development. So, my interest is very broad.
Yeah, okay, that's great.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
do you have kind of like an ideal employer or company in mind?
I would like an employer who is very open to other people's opinions, who is diverse, who they, include other people with all different backgrounds, a company that, you can make a difference and they take your input in and, acknowledge you, acknowledge everyone that works there, make sure that, you're good and that, the vision and the goal for the company as well as implemented and they match your own as well. So I would just love a company that is very people oriented and also there to make sure that their food is wonderful. Safety of the food and safety of the people is very big. So I would love a company that embodies that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there are lots of that's the good news. There are lots of companies in the baking industry that's very socially responsible and that has a really
Mhm.
good corporate culture going on for them.
Yes. Yeah.
So, what is the biggest hurdle you have experienced so far in this job process?
I would say being an undergraduate, I wasn't able to get as much of an internship experience that I would have hoped. And with that, the experience is definitely a hurdle when you're interviewing with people from all over and some may have more experience than yourself, but really it's just, knowing that you can do the job and knowing that you can give it your all. But through, interviews and going into different companies, that is definitely a hurdle, knowing that you may have a limitation in how much experience you have.
Right. Have you ever been to the ASB Baking Tech in Chicago?
I have not, no.
Oh, okay. That would
Yeah.
have been like one of the best networking opportunities for you as a student. And I believe the Baking Science Club, sends the students who work in it every year to Chicago. Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Um, what is it that you're most intimidated with in the process of finding a job?
I would say something that could get very intimidating is through the interview process, it's one position and you could have close to 10 or 12 people trying to get that one position. So trying to, be the one that's qualified and being into different interviews where you have one person versus five people and it can take close to 2 hours. So the process itself can get very intimidating knowing, did I really catch them to where they can definitely trust me in this role and leaving knowing that you gave it your all. So it could get a little intimidating, but as much as you're confident, it will help and you just go in and give it your best.
That's true. Sometimes it just takes five or six interview before 5 or 6 interviews with different companies before you get the second step into one company. So it might take a
Exactly.
while. Yeah.
Definitely.
How many companies have you interviewed with?
I have definitely interviewed for a lot, and really it's me not giving myself a limit. It's there is a position, companies are wonderful in their own different ways. So being a part of any company is going to be a good start in terms of an entry level position. So I have tried applying to a lot of companies and also connecting with the companies through LinkedIn to know
Great.
more about them and, just keep up.
Sounds good.
Mm.
What do you think is your best work ethic?
I would say I'm very team oriented. I bring a can-do attitude. I include other people's opinions, even based off of background, their personal experiences, or their education. I always make sure that whoever I get to work with, I always make them feel comfortable to share their opinions, to contribute however they can, and that their opinions matter. And, I give them a chance to be the best version of themselves they can be, even if it's a project that would take a couple weeks or months. So, just working with other people has always been really good for me.
Okay. So I
Hmm.
have a couple of suggestions for you. Are
Sure.
you hooked up to the network at K-State? Like, do you know past alumni that graduated?
I am a little connected. I have had a few chances to work with different professors. Currently, I am a research assistant, so that has definitely gotten me into more
Awesome. Who are you
connections.
working with, by the way?
Dr. Sajid Alavi,
Hmm. Great guy.
yes,
Great guy. He's got
yes,
plenty of connections, by
definitely.
the way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I would start. I would start with people that you know as students that just graduated. So just reached out to them and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Do you have
Mm-hmm.
any positions in your company open? Can you send my resume to the HR person?
Mm-hmm.
And, my suggestion is always have a contact in the company, hand the resume to the HR person. That's
Mm-hmm.
going to let you stand out, above the crowd. So that's one
Yes.
suggestion is reach out to your
Mm-hmm.
K-State alumni and ask
Okay.
and keep asking. The
Okay.
second suggestion I have is
Mm-hmm.
there is a baking tech coming up here in
Okay.
Chicago. If you can make it because everyone in the industry
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, the the people that you need to know are
Mm-hmm.
all at that conference.
Okay.
And um, and if anything, if you don't come out of a job from there, you get
Mm-hmm.
tons of contact.
Yes.
So it's something that you should look into if you
Okay.
have issues with the expense of going there. Reach out to the Society of Bakery Women.
Okay.
They might be able to help you
Mm-hmm.
because you are a student and
Yes.
you are a female. So our society supports that, and also society supports the
Mm-hmm.
first step for women into the
Okay.
industry. So
Yes.
that is my second suggestion. And
Okay.
lastly, it's just keep trying and on LinkedIn, keep
Mm-hmm.
liking people's posts, and
Mm-hmm.
keep following companies.
Yes.
If anything, just know that you are competing with a lot of people in this field. And unfortunately, you lack experience,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the downside of you. You just need that first job.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
right. Thank
So,
you.
did you think those suggestions helped you?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I will do as you said, just try and
Well, just keep
use some
trying.
of those. Mm-hmm.
Right,
And use
right.
LinkedIn as well as the graduate students, and just see how that goes.
Great. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure you'll get a job here pretty soon because anyone with a bakery science degree doesn't
Mm-hmm.
like stay in the market for too long without a job offer.
Yeah.
So yeah, good
Yes.
luck.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me?
I do. So tell me a little bit about BAKERpedia and, how did you get into baking?
And that is a long story, but I will try to summarize it.
Okay.
BAKERpedia is my dream of creating a resource
Mm-hmm.
globally for the commercial baking industry. When I was working in Wendy's, I found this gap, and we couldn't. I was on the floor. I was, running tech services departments, QA, R&D, and we were deciding. We were like, deciding how much ascorbic acid to dose and what is a particular dough conditioner ingredient do and what are emulsifiers. And while I can explain that very
Mm-hmm.
well, I can't do it all the time
Yeah.
for everybody. So I
Mm-hmm.
tried to look into resource that will help me explain this to many people on the floor. And I couldn't find any. And I was in charge of teams, and I asked them to go look on the internet, and they said they couldn't find any.
Yeah.
So I found a gap, and I decided to start working on this idea in 2014, the same year that you entered college. I launched this company, and basically we've been going ever since. And I'm a stickler for providing the information for free, because I believe that that's the only way the bakery industry is going to benefit from it, a free resource. And how we sustain it is through sponsorships. So a lot of sponsors come on and support our research and writing for BAKERpedia, just to keep it free. As far as baking goes, I've loved baking since I was probably about 13, 14. So the story is, when I was 13, 14, I baked a cake, and it was this very simple out of the box chocolate cake, and it stunk. Like, it created a crater, right? Because you know, when you're 13, 14, you don't really listen to instructions. So you just, well, put it in the oven. Why is it not rice? You know, so the inability of that cake to not rise really piqued my curiosity into food science. So I've always liked what's going on in my food, and I always liked the science aspect of it. So when I graduated from Ohio State University, I wanted to focus on baking. I had a food science and technology degree at Ohio State, and I went to Kansas State just like you did, because I seeked out the best in my bakery science career. So from Kansas State, I actually started my own business. I opened a bakery cafe, and that was during the height of the Atkins diet, so that didn't go very well. And I closed that business, and I moved, and I went back to Ohio and went to work for Wendy's. And from there, I just continued my career into baking. And I love it so much, and I haven't left it. And I've just done more research and studies into the baking industries and its allied industries, and I'm just learning so much more. So I am learning as I go along, and I really like what I see, because I do see a gap in research right here in the baking sciences, and there's so much we have not done. So that's why, you know, I love baking, and that's why I'm still baking.
Oh, that's so good. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good. That's
cool.
When it comes to the company, what are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of here? I think our growth in the last couple of years, and our acceptance in the market has made me really happy and proud of how we've grown and where we come from. We started with over 200 pages. Like, I launched this site, this small little website, just with 200 pages. And I really got a lot of criticisms about it and for it at the beginning. But, you know, like any entrepreneur, you really need to just bite it and move forward. But over the years, I've hired excellent people, and they have helped me grow this resource to over 900 pages right now. So that's what I'm most proud of.
Okay, good. And how has your company's vision evolved from the first day until today?
That's a good one. When I first started this, I wanted to be a mix between a Wikipedia, you know, and what Google does in terms of search for baking, and have as much baking resource for the bakers as much as possible. Along the way, people have offered to help me the wiki part by providing information. But I found that method of wiki is just not what I was striving for in terms of excellence in proper science information. So I left the wiki behind. I did not like the things that were coming to me, because they were half-baked and they were not well researched. And you know, I got a lot of requests for backlinks from holistic websites. So I really did not like that wiki part. So along the way, in the last 3 years, the more we are in this business, the more sponsors we bring on, the more resource we can do, we can have to hire better researchers and writers. So we have a team of researchers and writers on staff that creates all the content for the website. So that has been the toughest and actually the most rewarding of my journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there any other challenges that you may have faced over the years?
Yes, and being a female is not always easy, right? You can attest to that, right? So really, it's just you have to just keep working and keep accomplishing and keep executing. As in anything in life, I think you really need to sometimes just hold back the tears and just move on. And even if there's no one around, if you're the only employee of the company, you still have to trudge along. Because if you believe in your dream, if you believe in yourself, that will really bring you to places, And I also believe that every day is a miracle. And when you are alive and when you can function and you can function well, that is a miracle. And I don't take that for granted. So I work every day like my 100% or more. It's just I go full on force every day and I collapse at the end of the day. So that's how I work. And I still do have the passion for what I do. And it didn't change from day one.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. If you could do it all over again, would you change anything?
Oh, absolutely. Anyone who tells you that they won't change anything is telling you a lie. But I would change my entire logo. I would change the look of my first web page. That was like absolutely embarrassing. I would have changed how I did business because I was literally selling my sponsorship at way below market price. So I would have changed all of that. But, I wouldn't have learned if I wouldn't have started, right? So you always have to start somewhere, and you always have to know that you're on a journey and you're going to be better. You're going to learn, you're going to be better. And that's everything in life. Like you're going to start, you're going to start your first job. You're going to learn so much. You're going to get promoted and you're going to learn more and you're going to keep working up from there. So it's the same thing. That's how I see it. I mean, being an entrepreneur, it's like being it's like being an employee at a company. It's just like you're given opportunities, whether or not you work and on those opportunities is entirely your choice. And the more scary of an opportunity you have, both as an entrepreneur and at the corporate level, and the more risk you take with your career is will provide more rewards for you. So even if something feels like it's not in your realm of comfort, if this particular job that they're offering you feels like it's too intimidating, but you have all the credentials for it, I say go for it. Do things that are uncomfortable, do things that are challenging. I believe that's the only way you will learn.
Yeah, I can really attest to that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Those were my questions. Do you have any more questions for me?
Well, what are you doing now that's going to help you find a job tomorrow?
I haven't stopped applying. I haven't stopped searching. I haven't stopped, being any best of a version of myself I can be to help my future in any way. So even the work that I do now as a research assistant, I do it to the best of my ability, knowing that, something I learned over these couple of days will help me in the future. So I'm just going to keep trying, applying, and just doing as much of what I can now to make a difference as I could possibly do.
That's really awesome. And keep up the positive attitude.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Yeah, but that's good for me. And those are my questions for you as well. So thank you so much for sharing. I've learned so much from you.